Before I contemplated going to Philadelphia in 2014, when me and my two friends were talking about it, I knew nothing about Philadelphia. The only thing I knew is that they had cheesesteaks, which is a great start. But even my friend, wasn't that excited about Philly. He was saying like, oh, well, it's, kind of unsafe, which it kind of is in northern parts. But we couldn't really think about things and reasons to get excited about going to Philadelphia. However, when we got there, a lot of that changed. I originally thought that Philadelphia was maybe on par with, lower tier American cities like Pittsburgh or Baltimore. Not that those are bad cities, there's still great things to do there. But I'm talking about comparing, Philadelphia to some of the, more prominent cities like Chicago, New York City, San Francisco, things like that. And when I did get to Philadelphia and I got a chance to stay there for a few days, I was pleasantly surprised. And I found that there's actually a lot of things that can draw people to Philadelphia. So how's it going, guys? I'm Kevin, or the American Travel Geek, and today I'm going to be covering 5 things, 5 of the best things about Philadelphia that I'm very excited to share. And I can tell you right now, I have not been to Philly since 2014, and ever since then, I've really wanted to go back. So let's get right into this video. And before we begin, I'd just like to kindly ask you that if you enjoy my content and you'd like more advice on US destinations, then please hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification right beside it, or the bell right beside it, to get notified whenever I release a new video. So the first awesome thing about Philadelphia, and I noticed it pretty much right when I got there, is that just the vibe of the city and the architecture, it reminds you a lot of New York City. I guess a lot of the age of the buildings that you see, the facade on the buildings, which is really nice. In fact, we actually stayed right in the center of the city at, I believe it was the Holiday Inn, Walnut. It was around Walnut and Locust streets, and around that subway station. It was on Walnut Street, I know that. So we actually had a really good view outside our window of a nice urban landscape. So a few different buildings, and one of which that actually lit up at the top in the nighttime, which was really nice. Probably one of the best backdrops I've ever had, at least looking out, or one of the best views I've ever had, looking out of a hotel room window. So again, like really nice and remind me of New York City. And another thing that really reminded me of New York City was their subway system. In fact, the New York City subway system and Philadelphia's subway system actually originated around the same time. And if you go down to Philadelphia subway stations, they also look very old, very historic. And the trains are pretty similar as well, and you just feel like you're in the New York City subway system. So that is pretty cool. So the second best thing about Philadelphia is gotta be the history you can experience there. And I was just in Boston, and I experienced some phenomenal history there, and many different things you could see. But in Philadelphia, the history is actually quite comparable. You can go to so many different historic attractions. First of all, you got to see the Liberty Bell, which was supposedly rung when the Declaration of Independence that was signed for the United States, when that was read out the first time, the bell rung. So there's that, and there's Independence Hall, where the Declaration of Independence was first read. And right beside it is Congress Hall, and that was actually the former U.S. Capitol building, which is pretty cool, and you can go inside there, I think, for free, and I did in fact go inside there. Also, there's also the Be Free Franklin post office, which is a United States post office, and the building that it's housed in actually predates like colonial times, like it's super old, and Benjamin Franklin actually lived there at one point. So it's also cool to visit there, and it's a museum as well. And finally, there's Alfred's Alley, which is the oldest residential street in America. So all this you probably would never have guessed is in Philadelphia. So really cool, and just so many different options too to visit in terms of history. So if you are enjoying this video so far and it's been very informative and helpful, please head down in the comment section below and write, "I love Philly." The third thing that's great about Philadelphia is the art presence in the city. You know, I'm not someone who would go to art museums. You know, that's just not something that interests me. But even like on the city streets, you'll find a lot of interesting art. You know, the first thing that comes to mind is Love Park, where you have the famous love sign that's just situated in a really good area right in the middle of the city, where you get a nice backdrop with the fountain right there. So there's that, and then just a short walking distance away, there's another kind of street-inspired art that contains like board game pieces. So you'll have like one from the game Sorry, one from Monopoly, things like that, and you can take pictures with that. So that's pretty cool. And of course, Philadelphia also has their famous Museum of Art, where the Rocky Steps are located from the movie Rocky, where he was Sylvester Stallone was running up the steps famously. So you can actually reenact that and see where he stopped at the top of the steps, and there's a statue to go along with that as well. So there's a really, really good art presence in Philadelphia, even without having to pay admission into a museum, that you should definitely check out. Now, for the fourth thing on this list, I have to mention a park that I absolutely love, one of my favorite parks I've ever been to in any of these cities, and that is Rittenhouse Park, or Rittenhouse Square. So the reason I like this park so much is, again, because it kind of takes me to that Central Park, New York City vibe, where it's very, you know, it's nestled like right in the city center. So, you know, you have all the tall buildings and nice, you know, facade architecture around you, and very lush greenery as well. Lots of trees, lots of nice shaded benches to sit on, places to lie down, a really nice like historic fountain that's laid out. When I was walking through there, I remember, you know, I actually have it recorded on footage of me saying that, you know, I wish there was a park like this in Toronto.
So cool. Toronto had a place like this.
Because it just, you know, Toronto's main park, High Park, is just, compared to this in terms of, I guess there's just the vibe you get walking through the park. It's just not comparable, and Toronto doesn't really have a good park in the center of its city like Philadelphia does. So that's another really big plus. To round out this list, I really can't leave out cheesesteaks. Now, when my cheesesteak experience came at Sonny's Famous Steaks, and you know, if I did go back to Philadelphia, I probably would switch it up. I just spent a lot of time researching and realizing that Pat's and Gino's, which are the most iconic places to get cheesesteaks in Philadelphia, apparently they're a bit tourist trappy, and a lot of tourists tend to gravitate there. And I wanted to truly get the true best Philadelphia cheesesteak experience from the perspective of a local. So Sonny's Famous Steaks was my option, but I ended up getting just American cheese on mine. It wasn't with the traditional kind of your typical cheesesteak cheese sauce. So I guess I missed out a bit there. And of course, there's another place called Tony Luke's, which appeared on the show Man vs. Food, which is actually the show I was trying to reference in my last video on Cleveland. Or was it on Cleveland? It might have been the Texas one, I forget. But anyways, Tony Luke's is a really good place as well. But I think if I went back to Philly, I'd want to get that iconic tourist experience in that kind of, I guess I'm kind of comparing it to like going to Coney Island or something like that, or Seaside Heights, New Jersey, where you got that kind of, it feels like you're on a midway, and you go inside and it's all lit up like from the exterior, and then when you go inside you feel like you're in a diner. So I would definitely go to Pat's and Gino's, but there's so many different cheesesteak places in Philadelphia, and you definitely have to try one of them. So to sum things up, after going to Philadelphia, I would even go so far and so bold as to say that Philadelphia could be on the same level as a Chicago or even a New York City. You know, obviously New York City is the preferable city. There's just so much to do there, but Philadelphia is a very quality city to visit. Even though there are parts that are unsafe, the downtown for itself is actually really nice, and there's just so much to do there, and so much history that's packed in. So definitely consider visiting Philly. I think you'll love it there. And if you guys enjoyed this video, it was very helpful, please hit the like button, and if you didn't, and you just want to leave some feedback, hit the dislike button. Anything in terms of feedback is appreciated. And also, again, the channel is relatively new. If you want more advice on American destinations, more tips, more food recommendations, definitely hit the subscribe button. And I also have a blog where I write articles that accompany these videos. And if reading is more of your cup of tea as opposed to watching a video, then definitely visit the blog at AmericanTravelGeek.com. So until next time, guys, I'll see you soon, and happy travels.